So why is the pro-life definition of life and rights actually beginning with conception superior to one of those proposals that maybe rights or personhood are endowed at some later point based on a feature that comes along in the course of development?
Yeah. A couple of reasons. Number one, it has better grounding. Number two, it can better account for human equality. And I think number three, it fits better with our concept of natural rights and liberties. Let me just walk through those real quick. It is grounded better than the pro-abortion alternative explanation. And here's why. When you ground human rights in subjective and ad hoc traits that you arbitrarily decide matter, then human rights become very vacuous, because those in power, those that control the narrative, will determine who counts and who doesn't. Where the pro-life view says, no, all humans are persons by definition. There is no such thing as a human being that's not a person. And the pro-life view rightly asks, why should we believe that there can be such a thing as a human that's not a person? Any parents with teenagers don't answer that question, but everybody else, we get it. To say that there can be such a thing as a human that's not a person sounds very ad hoc and arbitrary. But secondly, this alternate view that Singer, Tooley, and all of them put forward has devastating accounts for human equality, and here's why. If what truly makes us valuable is not our common human nature that we all share in virtue of our humanity, but instead if what makes us valuable is traits that come and go, that none of us share equally. For example, those of us that are engaged in this broadcast right now, we are more or less self-aware, more or less physically developed, more or less able to sense pain or other sensations. We don't share these traits equally. But if our fundamental dignity is grounded in these traits that none of us share equally and may come and go in the course of our lifetimes, then human equality is out the window, because those with more of those traits will have greater rights than those with less. And you can kiss equality goodbye. The pro-life view says, no, what makes us equal and valuable is not that we have traits that none of us share equally. Rather, what gives us our fundamental equality is we share a common human nature, which as Christians we know bears the image of our Maker. But we bear a human nature that came to be when we came to be, and it doesn't come in degrees the way these ad hoc traits that people pick out come in degrees.
There's kind of a poison pill the advocate on that level has to swallow too, which is that a toddler, for instance, someone under the age of 2, doesn't really have a great deal of the traits that they're describing. Doesn't have this self-reflective sense of,
that's right,
this is a me across time, right? Most people don't remember anything from before then anyway, and can't sort of use it to construct their life story. And yet there are very, very, very few people who would say, the right to choice extends into the second year of a child's life. It's very arbitrary.
Yeah, heck, you just described me before my first cup of coffee in the morning. But to put that in perspective, what you just said, I think it's spot on. And what we end up with is a society that can't account for why we have dignity, value, and equality, because there's no solid ground to bank that on at all. And you're right about the poison pill. In fact, when Jubilini and Minerva put forward their paper on afterbirth abortion several years ago, it caused a huge stir in the medical and popular culture. People said, how dare they suggest that the same arguments that justify abortion justify infanticide? But they were right. The logic leads that way. And one of the things that was pointed out in that debate by an author that supports abortion is that the latest psychological research indicates that 2-year-olds and maybe even 3-year-olds have no sense of self existing over time. They don't really understand a desire to go on living. And by the definitions put forward to justify abortion, it would also justify killing these 3-year-olds. So you're right, there is a poison pill. These arguments end up proving way too much.